4:37. Let's call our meeting for February to order, 4:37. We'll begin by introductions. Bill, would you?
Bill Scriber, Executive Director.
Stan Delia, board member.
Sorry.
It's in sign language. Runs the gate, board member.
Debbie Godden, port employee.
Pat McMahon, port employee.
Tom Schneider, board member.
Katie Macy, board member.
John Kawakara Smith, board member.
Connie Cosmeno, board member.
Dr. Morgan and
Mercedes
Mercedes
Neese, H. Lee White Maritime Museum, trustee and executive director.
Fran Enright, board member on Zoom.
Thank you and welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of January 25, 2023. That's Exhibit A. Any changes, additions? Matt will entertain a motion. 0213-2301.
I'll move it.
That's second.
Stan,
Katie.
Kitty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Our next item is administrative operational report, which is included. Bill?
Yes, you've got the numbers report attached, project updates. West Dock is still awaiting environmental approval from New York State DEC. We've gone back and forth with them over a number of times. I can't shed any more light on it than that because we're kind of in the dark of what the requirements are asking for. Global Marina Dry Dock has been approved. We have the docks approved. They're under construction. We hope to be opening in May for that. There'll be a few items that will be left because we have an issue outstanding maybe on power. If Niagara Mohawk and Pat can get the power in, we will have powered pedestals. If not, it'll be coming later than May. And we also have to remodel our bathrooms, but we don't want to do too much all at once, so we're going to wait till the docks are in, most of it's done, then we're doing the bathroom remodel. Ongoing, we still have the discussion with the Interlake short sea container project going on. I had a call this month with them. We have another one scheduled this month. We're getting closer to actually having that project maybe in about end of 2024 with programs starting in 25. It takes a while to get these type of operations up and running. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people that we have to make sure we've got on board. I had a call with American Great Lakes Ports Association on an aluminum study that's going to be funded by USDOT. It seems to be a green go. I'll be receiving a recommendation on the areas and scope from the company this month. I'll share it with you next month as we get more details on it. Breakwall projects funding, as I announced last time, it's been in the paper. Everybody knows we're getting 17+ million for breakwalls. That was a member item that I put in for the Senator Schumer's office last year. It was funded in the President's budget that Congress passed. I talked with Josh Feldman. He's the top engineer at Army Corps out of Buffalo. It is going to go to bid this year with the constructions started in 2024 next year. Just to give you a little idea of what they're looking at doing. The present project we have now, which is a $5 million project from Dean Marine, this would be like 3 of those projects all in 1 year. So it's going to be a huge, huge project. So we're moving ahead with that. We're talking about land, and hopefully we'll may even have a new track mobile by then, a larger one. Continued effort on a tug for the Oswego Harbor. Again, as anything, it takes a while to move stuff forward. I'm having a call with the tug company this week again. They've located the tug. We supported a grant application for economic development, state economic development. We don't know if that's going to be approved, but we also have another grant opportunity that I'm helping them with through the U.S. Marine Highway Program that we are uniquely qualified for because we're a U.S. DOT Marine Highway, which means that every other port doesn't get that designation. We're one of just a handful on the Great Lakes. And there is a provision within that grant application for equipment, and a tug did fit under equipment. So I'm going to be on I'm going to stretch out and hopefully talk to DOT, see if we can put an application in for a tug, which means I have got to talk to the attorneys because this would be a joint venture. We would own part of the tug. So there would be possibly our ownership, and then we would lease it out to a private entity to operate. So those are legal questions that I've got to sort of flush out with DOT, and that's going to take me the rest of the month. It's not due, applications aren't open until the end of February, so hopefully by then I'll have an answer. I met with Congresswoman Claudia Teddy's office last week. It was a very good conversation. Spent about 2 hours. Pat gave Dan martini, spelled like martini, a tour of the port. I went over all we do and how we operate, how we have been so successful over the last few years. I think he had a good time. I think we've got a good relationship started with that office that we hope to continue. I offered for her to come this spring. We don't want to do it in the wintertime for a visit, and they're going to see if they can't make that happen. They look to actually having Congresswoman here sometime in the spring for an on-site visit, so I'm looking forward to that. We met with Center State CEO on our business operations and plans going forward. I think that was a good meeting. We're now part of their blast email, and also we have a number of shared experiences going forward that we're going to work on, and that in the last year we've been so busy it kind of fell off my radar, Center State CEO, and then I put it back on the radar. We need to be more active in the organization, which we're going to attempt to do, and be more proactive in our communications back and forth. FTZ is live, foreign trade. We have one of those ads that we're putting in right,
Yeah.
sent out to you, edit. We're doing it in the Central New York Business Journal. We're doing it in Sligo Business, and we're even doing it in the St. Lawrence Daily Review. So one of the most important items is that we have to get it known and out there, and we're doing that now. Advertise, look for clients. We got within, I guess, a centimeter of having it filled, right, Pat? The only problem was the items that we were going to put in it needed a crane inside the building, and we do not have an internal gantry crane inside. And honestly, we talked about it. We didn't want to take the risk of not being able to lift it and easily put it in the warehouse until July, August, is when they wanted to move it out with the equipment we had on hand. The container mover, which we're still in the process of trying to get through an exemption, because there is no container mover 100% made in the United States. There's parts, Volvo transmissions, or this other, so there's a waiver required. We're just waiting for the two companies to give us the information so we can apply for a waiver. If we had that, we would have been able to use this equipment, so just a little note there. Also, we met with U.S. Department of Transportation, Marine, Seaway Business Development representatives. The Jasmine, who's just been hired there. She came from Milwaukee as their business representative, the Port of Milwaukee. And my good friend Peter Height, who's really worked very hard at helping the port be known through the lakes and get business. He was very important in the Anderson contract, getting Anderson here and selling them on our new facility. They were here just to have a site visit, get a little background, and we're looking forward to maybe some additional ships through the backhauls from Montreal through their efforts. And what their efforts are is they actually, when you pass through the seaway, they run the ship where it's going. When there's opportunities for backhauls, that means you unload Montreal, may unload Cleveland, and the ship does not have a backhaul, then they'll notify Anderson's and us that there's a possibility of a grain ship that could go out, you know, instead of just like an empty truck going back to New York, this is where you could fill the ship up like we did to Israel. We put grain on that ship and it went back to Israel. So those opportunities, they're always stressing for us and are out there selling the port for not only just for the seaway, but for us too. That's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. And next, we have administrative financial reports, which are A, primary, and B, subsidiary, in your folders.
Yeah, I think last month we went into some depth on financials and the comparative to the prior period and the cash flow, the current asset ratios. It's not much different in this month. There was a small loss in January because we're really not doing anywhere near as much business as we will once the spring arrives and through the late fall. So there's not much here to tell. Debbie and Bill right now are working on the budget. I think we'll, rather than spend time on the financials through January 31st, let's all kind of scrutinize the budget and see what we think about that. Because it was, get ahead of myself, but the budget should go through the Audit and Finance Committee. There was a meeting on that committee last Tuesday. I'd like to apologize to those members who showed up and I didn't. I had a little challenge with some just health-wise, and it got me so nervous. I thought it was Monday, it was Tuesday. So I apologize for that. It wasn't well after the meeting. Debbie's text I would come. Which was embarrassing for me, so we'll get back to it and again, apologize for that.
Oh, you're one of us.
Huh?
You're one of us. I've lost a day all month.
This is February, you're supposed to stay.
End of the month. Thanks, Tom. Okay.
But otherwise, I would move to accept the reports under item C, both A and B, C1 and C2, the primary and subsidiary financial reports. I'd like to put that on the floor and then see if anyone has any questions.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. No discussion?
When do we anticipate the budget, you're gonna be getting?
We're very, very close.
Okay.
I
And then
think
we're
we'll
gonna
have,
meet,
what, a couple
discuss
days
it.
out, Debbie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Debbie was going over stuff with me just prior to the meeting. So, I had my, crystal ball out. I was projecting things. And, I think we're almost to the end of it. So I would say probably by the end of the week, we'll be asking for Tom to set a meeting up to go over the budget.
No questions? All in favor? Yes? Thank you, that passed. Then we have the chairman's report.
Well, it can't really be a report, but, per se, because I'm not there. but I can make a comment that I'm sure everybody's aware that I'm on the phone with Bill weekly, talking about all the issues that are coming up. Some of this stuff is up in executive session. We can talk about that as it comes up. Some of it has to do with the tug that we are looking at purchasing. I think that is a great need for the port, especially now that we're going to have that harbor deepening. And with the harbor deepening is going to come the ability now to bring in the salties in there, which will be a 700 plus foot ship, which would be in need of a tug. Even though it may or may not have bow thrusters, a tug is going to be what's going to get us these ships that come in here. So I'm in favor of that 110%, getting us moving on that. That's all I have to say right now. I'll wait comments as we get into the LT5 and when we talk to our attorney in executive session. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Okay, for our committee reports, for executive committee, I do want to report that I traveled with Bill to Albany on January 9th to meet with Governor Hochul's chamber, which are her head department heads. And Bill gave a thorough review of the port's history and vision and growth, where he was able to share the many grant awards that we've been awarded and more to come. And this success actually has a little kick for that, and that is that we need money for the matches, especially some of these very, very large grants. And so this was an opportunity for Bill to showcase the port and put us under consideration for some state money. Additionally, the chamber had asked us to give a report on the port's anticipated work with Enron and transporting of the materials. And we were able to use two of those big engineer boards, one from the original upgrade back in 2003 and the one 2021. And the group there was very receptive, and they had a lot of questions and a lot of concern. And I'll leave it at that. So that's pretty. By the way, I did attend Senator Mannion's open house, and he also asked how the board was doing in relation to building our ability to work with materials from Enron. So there's a lot of interest there. And so that's that. Any questions?
Yeah, can
Yes.
I just want to make a comment, since you were really the one that got our public relations going, or the suggestions, is everybody may or may not know, down in Florida, there's all sorts of groups, small groups of people from Central New York and Oswego that are down here. And I just got to say that the press releases that are happening are working. And I'm getting all sorts of phone calls and inputs from the people from upstate New York when they're reading about this online, and a very positive feedback where the last news article explained what we were doing to the degree that people are very satisfied and understand now what the port is dealing with. So I just have to say, let's keep up the good work, because it definitely, I can see that it's reaching the people and having a positive impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. How about audit and finance? Can we just?
Yeah, I essentially did that again. The committee was in meeting, except I wasn't here, so it didn't raise much of a.
Stuff happens, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll meet again on the budget and pick up where we were on some of the policy reviews we've been doing.
Okay. Thank you. John, do you have anything from governance?
Well, I'm still waiting for the lawyer to advise us on adding these two well-established procedures to employee benefits, which should appear in the employee handbook. I contacted him, I know, in December and January, and I've not heard, so I'm anxiously awaiting to hear from him.
Planning and development, Roger, how about you?
Nothing really new, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so my meeting with the Marine Museum folks over there, was before that, I think, that went very well, but it's a bit out of date by now, so. We'll learn a lot more about the museum here, I can tell you.
Stay tuned. Thank you. All right, old business, there is no old business listed. Does anybody else have any? If not, we'll go on to new business. And we have a presentation of the seeker for the RV park, which is Exhibition D.
This is basically, we've gone with the New York State Seeker Manual to the letter. The action is considered a unlisted action for what we're doing. I'm going to present this to the board tonight. There's no action required tonight. This is the part one. I'd like to look it all over. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And then we will bring this to the board for a vote at next month's meeting, which would be the part two. And part two is done by the board. And that would be just going over the questions. And then we would be required to give a negative deck or a positive deck. If it's a positive deck, we have to go into a more extensive review. If it's a negative deck, unlisted action is what is required for the project to move forward.
Jill, did we, I couldn't find it. Did we file a seeker last year for this?
No.
No, we did not. Okay.
Just let me, you are the seeker authorizing board. It's an unlisted action according to the New York State Seeker Manual. It fits within those parameters. As you can see, we went by New York DEC Seeker Manual, and this is basically what you do is you punch all this information in on a website that they have provided for us, and it goes ahead and answers all these questions. It does a EF mapping, it goes over wildlife, it goes over every item required by seeker. Even you see, it provides maps, everything. I just go over, it goes over, eligibility of if it's within an archaeological area, if it's got snails, darters, or birds that are restricted. It goes over everything, and it gives you a summary page. And this summary page basically places it as an unlisted action. And what I mean is unlisted action, you basically don't need to go any further than that. If it's a negative deck by the board, you are the authority to provide it. And all I would do is, it does come out as a negative deck, all you do is I'll go through part two questions with you. I'll send them prior to the meeting. If you agree with that, then all you do is have a resolution for negative deck, and the secretary treasurer signs it.
And so one place in here that one of the lands listed, the contiguous land is the fort. Do we have to do any more?
No, it's unlisted. Other than we just tell them we're doing it, because it's unlisted, it doesn't meet the threshold of going to full data. So that was just basically for you to have that information, for you to review for next week.
All right, and next, any other questions? We have a review with, who's gonna do this? Are you giving the presentation,
Well-
Maurice?
Well, what I do is I first want to do a preface, and then I'll have Mercedes talk. This is a memorandum of understanding. It's been one change to it. If you receive the monies, you will do a quarterly report to the board. So, not from time to time, I wouldn't think we wanted to
Do it monthly if you want.
Yeah, well.
Saying,
I
more
don't think-
communication, better.
I don't think nothing. You have to do quarterlies to them, so you just give us the quarterly here, once every quarter, that's enough. This is requirement for them to have receive money for the tug. As you all know, I tried to get the state to dry dock it, so we could do some stuff to it, but the tug is so large, it's just, there's no dry dock. We would have to take it all the way to Michigan, the dry dock. Yes, the reason why is for your board, well, I have a board member, is that because of the weight of the tug, there's only one crane system large enough to actually pick it out of the water. Okay, you just can't use a couple 40 cranes on this, this is too big. You actually have to go down to tow it there, and that's Great Lakes Towing as a tug, a crane large enough to dewater it. Now, there's some in Canada, but I don't think we want to put it in Canada. So on the Great Lakes, there's one crane system. And why they have that is they're a towing company, they dewater their large tugs. Larger, if you remember Dean Marine's tug who was here, that big one, that's dewatered up there too. When they do repairs on it, or they do upgrades to it, or whatever. So there's a shipyard up there. There's also a shipyard in Erie, PA. That really is a drive-in and repair, and not a take it out of the water. Because once you get to Erie, PA, take it out of the water, where are you gonna go with it? There's no place for Erie, PA. They can't transport it. So with that, she's asking for a resolution to do this memorandum. They provided us earlier, and you have copies, they provided us earlier with what their plan is. So I just thought it'd be easier if Mercedes went over this with the board, other than me trying to interpret. So with that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Maurice.
And I'm not sure, I didn't know your board expanded, so I don't know if I actually have enough for everybody, but this is a project
Yeah.
brief.
Thank you. I think I've seen
We
this.
can make copies.
And then here's another one. Make one for yourself too.
Did
Okay.
you get this in email, Fran?
There might be.
I got this. I got this whole thing, I read it over.
Okay.
I didn't
In
do
fact,
it.
I've also talked with Dr. Morgan on this issue a little bit. And after Mercedes talks and Bob talks, and I got some comments too on this.
So this is a brief that came out of a grant that our curator, Michael, who wrote 2 grants. We have a federal grant, Save America's Treasures. We were one out of 42 awards in the country for that boat. COVID stopped us from getting the match. You know about matching, right, when you get a grant. Bill's an excellent grant writer. So we had to wait to go to the state to get the match. So we got $375,000 under Save America's Treasures. We got $500,000, so it's almost $900,000 to take it out of the water and take it to a shipyard and have it worked on so that it will float. So, but part of the project, and I'm gonna have to, would you go over to Pat and tell him he needs to copy? I don't know why, I didn't get as many as I needed.
How many did you tell him to make?
This one he needs to make for everybody. He
Okay.
took the first 2 pages.
All right.
But I want you to have that because that's the scope of work. And I've highlighted specifically, part of that is to do a study for a permanent berth for the vessel. So it's not just about taking it out of the water and just keeping it floating and then in 20 years, oh no, now we have to do it again. It's actually, that's part of the grant, is to do the study to determine where it's ultimately gonna wind up.
He's making
Oh, thank you very much. So this is, not our whim or whatever. This is part of federal regulations, state regulations, when you have a historic vessel. The agreement that Bill's talking about, actually, it's more of an onus on us because no matter what happens, the museum organization is responsible to take care of that LT5. Okay, so that's off of your burden to worry about regular maintenance, keep an eye on it, dealing with the architect that we have brought in for this, JMS architect out of the Mystic Seaport area. So, we would still be responsible for as long as the MOU is. So it's really a relationship and a
They
commitment
assume
from
some
us.
of the insurance issues as well, as part of the,
Well, part of the dry
Yeah.
docking will assume some of the insurance, yes.
as well.
And John Fitzgibbons is working on a way to break that up so that it would be dockside insurance and then the project insurance would be separate. And I am pretty sure that is in the grant as well, the cost for that. I will say that we did take the boat to Hedel Marine, which is in Hamilton, in Canada the last time, because that's actually the closest. But we have to go to bid to 3 companies, so, which is a standard practice as well.
The thing is, if I can add a few other things,
Please.
the purpose of this is to try to figure out how we can stabilize her for the future. She is one of only 9 vessels from D-Day that is still afloat today. She's a combat vessel. They shot down a Fokker 190, the newer plane, on D-Day +1. So that is not just a push something around kind of tug. It's a combat vessel. It was specifically built to go over there. It's so large, that's why it does not fit anywhere. We have literally spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours in getting these grants. And there's a time commitment now that if we don't get this as a partnership with us, that there's a chance of us losing the money. You hate to throw $900,000 away. They may take it to wherever it is and say, wow, she's in not as good a worse shape as we think. She's not going to be floating much longer no matter what we do. And we may need to figure out a way to de-water her permanently, but have her part of our maritime history here. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. But you don't know until all the engineers. And I'm an analytic chemist as well as a doctor, but I'm not a structural engineer, and certainly not a maritime structural engineer. But it's certainly part of the big plans for, the museum is really moving. With NOAA being here, there's a lot of moving parts right now that we can become the destination of Eastern Lake Ontario. NOAA is moving to the next level. We have 4 members of our board who are on the 15 voting members of the advisory council. So we have very much input into NOAA moving forward, and it looks like it's going to happen. I'm hoping it gets designated by September. We need a new space, and you've expanded in the global dry dock. We're hiring DLR to come up with a new business plan and then come up with new plans so that hopefully structurally it might be right next to you, which would be a perfect addition. We've raised $180,000 committed to our schooner, which NOAA is very happy about. And we're going to have that hopefully ready to go in 2025 for a tall ship event, which I know for Bill would require the West Pier to be improved, which that's your plans as well. So this is a combination. And, this is starting it going, but this puts us dead in the water if we don't get your agreement to work with us on this. And realistically, we have to bid it out. she'll be still tied where she is until the late summer or the fall. We hope she goes to winter, wherever they're gonna do the work, and it'll be a year or more before she comes back, which gives you a lot of time for the port to do the stuff that they wanna do on the West Pier. So the timing couldn't be better. COVID messed a lot of things up for all of us. And we did not drop the ball at the museum. We've had less people and we've been carrying more balls. And we're moving forward. And we are investing our own money. We're investing our own money, over almost $40,000 in the building we're in right now, so that we didn't freeze from a couple of years. So we really see this as a great moving partnership. And the expansion you're doing, we're gonna be a huge port with the dredging that's happening. I mean, and all this is happening at the same time. So we just implore you how important it is to move forward with this. You know, it's not gonna be a working tug. I don't think it's gonna be a floating tug for that much longer, but we gotta find the structural engineers to find out, and we have state and federal money together to do it. And if she becomes a tug that's not gonna be in the water, we can light her better, we can make a tremendous part of our museum, and for the city, and you know, and anything that's a vessel of water shines on the port. It absolutely shines on the port. The first port, the U.S. government on the fresh Great Lakes was here, and we tell them that every time we do the tours. We're very proud of us to go in our port and what we've done here, and we're the biggest megaphone for that you'll ever see. And
Thank you.
this came,
I've seen this.
but we have a timeline, and we don't want to lose that timeline. You know, if we had $18 million, we could probably make it a working tug, maybe, but we don't. But I don't think.
The single screw wheel on.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the potential of where we can be in 3 years, and that's what I'm looking at, is a tug permanently someplace that's stable, probably out of the water, or, you know, but, or at least working on a new building, the schooner and NOAA being here, you having a deeper dredge, and having the biggest container ships you can coming in here, that, and with Micron down the road, all this stuff is happening at the same time. So we just really, and we love to communicate with you all the time. And as it's quarterly, that's great. If it needs to be more, we have a new board over at our museum, and this is a board that rolls up its sleeves, works, invests their own money, puts the hours in, and we see this as a tremendous gateway for this city, this county, and with NOAA for our 4 counties together. And you just have, this is just a golden opportunity to help this keep moving. So that's why we were important. Any question that you have, you know, we don't know what the engineers are gonna tell us. I don't think the engineers are gonna find that it's something that could be in the water for that much longer. You know, one big thing, we've had a heck of a time getting anybody to take the fuel. This money, one of the first things we're gonna do is get the doggone fuel off of that boat. And, because that's a disaster
Now
waiting to
we'll have the
happen.
money to do
Now
it.
the money's there, it's
We
the
don't
state
have to
money. It's
ask
not
you
your
or
money,
pony
it's not
up,
our money,
whatever.
it's the state's money,
It's
I
the
kinda like
state's
that.
money.
So what was the match?
Smiling at your
So
bad.
the federal grant was $365,000. This match is $500,000. So we're just a little, they actually
Yeah.
can be a little bit more than 500, but
Yeah.
we're close to 900,000 between the two. We've already set up or in the process of setting up a separate bank account and checking account for following the LT5, because we know with this grant money, we're gonna be audited, so we're setting that right up. We have a separate account or we're setting up now for the schooner.
Yeah, we've met with our accountants
so-
specifically.
So that we are setting this up to track the money, because we know it's federal and state money, so that every I is gonna be dotted and everything is gonna be done appropriately. Just like with the schooner, will be inspected by the Coast Guard when they need to inspect as we go along.
This,
And-
yeah, this board wants to do things right. It's not a Saturday afternoon coffee and donuts
No.
project over at
No.
the schooner, but
I'm sorry, I
It's-
came from the schooner this afternoon. Got
Connie,
some
it's an
schooner on.
environmental protection fund grant.
Oh, all right.
It's an EPF grant. So,
It says here that the National Historic Landmark LT5 Preservation Project is projected to cost $865,000 plus. Who came up with that figure?
JMS Architect.
Oh, okay.
Out of Mystic.
Okay,
A naval
We
architect,
had
an
a
engineering firm.
professional naval architect.
yeah, okay.
Everything we're doing is, we're doing it correctly, even on the schooner. The
Schooner, we
guys
hired
don't
an
do
engineer.
one thing
Yeah.
unless the architect says you're allowed to touch them.
First thing we did was, from the 9 of us that are on the committee, we
Uh-huh.
raised $40,000 to hire the engineer. The
Yeah,
engineers came,
Yeah.
and then we
Nice.
said, this is
okay.
a good project.
So no more.
If they said it wasn't a good project, we would have stopped it. So everything's done with engineering behind it.
Nice.
We know what we don't know. We have a lot of educated people on our board, but we know what we don't know, and we have to hire the people that have that expertise, because it's a lot of money, all of us are, this 900,000 is coming out of every one of our pockets, we're paying taxes. So I don't want you to think that it's, magic, and that we're following these. But we have an opportunity to be, such an example, and,
It's a fine example of transparency.
Yeah,
Fine example of transparency.
absolutely,
Yes.
it is,
Yes.
and that's how we do everything where we are, and, it's exciting for 2025 coming because I know Tall Ships America is planning on Tall Ships coming in again, and the Navy's gonna start their Great Lakes tours again.
Yeah, I've already got a call on a frigate they're building that may come here.
Yeah, I talked to the Coast Guard, I'm trying to get the Eagle again, here for our Tall Ship event, so, but they're very excited at Tall Ships America. Erin, I can't think of her last name now, maybe Ford, and she's very excited what's gonna happen on the Great Lakes in 2025. 200th anniversary for the Erie Canal, 250th anniversary of the U.S. Navy. So we're doing these things in 2023, we are perfectly set to be ready to be a star. You are with the littlest Great Lake, one of the most important things first.
So, John, your comment, you're right. It says that we only asked for 800 and something. They actually the state gave us more money than we asked for, because they really believe in this project and how significant it is. How often do you hear that?
yeah,
So that's how we're accessing the
Nice.
$500,000.
that's good to
Yeah.
know, good to hear.
We're not Rosemary Nesbitt's little museum anymore.
There you go.
And be reassured, we let everybody know how, working with the port, we are partners. This is, we couldn't exist without our partnership. We know you own our building. This is a partnership that's seeing where things are going for our community. And these
That's
last
why I was
few,
very happy that Versity's wanted to come tonight and present this. I think this is a good communication
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
I mean, we are on camera, just not minutes. So, I think the community, benefits by you
absolutely.
being there. And I know it benefits from the port being here. And I think that they just need to hear this coming from your own mouths. And the board acknowledges everything that's going on positive. So.
Well, thank you for inviting
All
us.
right, can I make a comment?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, I talked to Dr. Morgan, and I read the report on the talk. And a lot of what they're doing, and of course, is with the hull, and it's all, that you hear them mention a sea chest. What is that? Sea chest, any opening in the bottom of that ship where they're taking water in or discharging out for cooling, et cetera, et cetera. These are penetrations in the hulls. And also, there's a survey on the hull itself, which, as you may know, electrolysis and the galvanic action is the action of dissimilar metals or stray electrical charges in the water that will cause a degradation of any hull, any metal hull. And then on big merchant ships, they actually have a reverse electronic devices on there that protect the hull from that. Well, the LT5 doesn't have that, and it never did have that. And probably any zinc type of anodes that are on the hull or could be long gone by now. So my concern over the years has been that it's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when this tug, it may sink right there at the dock. It's a liability. It may not happen in a year, it may not be 5 years, but it's gonna happen. And the threat is there, and we have to lift the burden of that threat from the port, especially if you talk about environmental. And then you have to talk about lifting it out and all these other things that we don't even want to talk about. So the timing of this grant that's coming along is perfect. But I wanted to be sure that the museum and the port are on the same page. That this is not going to be just a paint over on this thing and make it look pretty, and that they're expected this to remain at that dock for 25 years. Bill and I have talked about this dock, this boat really needs to get into a permanent location, we call dewatering it, where it will be a station ashore, where it would come into a channel that we may be able to dig when the high water in there, crib it up, backfill it with stone, and make it a permanent museum ashore, so we never have to worry about this thing floating away because somebody let a line loose. Or
A sinking Bailey, I'm not sure it would float that
floating
way.
object out there and sinking, or destroying our West Pier dock, which I want to use for tall ships, and that sort of stuff. So, in that conversation, I believe that we're on the same page with this. And that I also emphasized that I didn't think the communication was quite up to what I was hoping for as far as a more of a monthly report, especially with everything that's in, all the balls in the air. I'd like to see a better communication on that, so we can be aware of what's going on. And but all in all, I think this is a great opportunity for the port in order to reduce its liability with the LT5, and with the museum taking on the insurance liabilities that we don't have right now. I think it's a big plus. So as I see it, this is a positive, but I do want to see some of the fine print when it comes to that insurance, what exactly we're going to be covered, and that what liabilities that we will be able to dodge as far as the port goes. But I believe that this is a solid project and an opportunity for us to, one, get that tug on its way of finding a permanent dry dock home and relieving our liability. So I'm in favor of what I'm hearing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
Any other questions for us that we can help with? And as I said, we are more than happy to
Yep.
meet as often as you would like.
We are going to amend and then to report to the board monthly on disbursements of funds. I think we want to be, you've already said you would, so.
More than happy
We'll
to.
see your smiling faces here
Yeah.
once a month when this money is being pumped and we're finding the tug. By the way, the tug was originally purchased to be a working tug for the harbor.
Yep.
Well, that was part of it.
We know.
Well, that was the whole thing according to my, in a way.
Yeah, I
You know,
know.
that's why I'm working so
That
hard.
was prior
get
to
here.
you and I both. here.
Right, but, you know, monthly, I guess we would want to amend the monthly. Also, I just talked to the Madam Chairman here for the meeting. Because it's 25 years, we should let the attorney review the memorandum. You can vote to accept it, tentative on the attorney's review, because it is 25 years.
It is half of what the federal had already signed off on.
We really need to have our attorney just review it. I don't think there'd be any adjustments, but just have them review it.
That's conditional, I think is a good idea.
Yes, yes.
That sounds fair.
Excellent. We really appreciate you
Yeah.
letting us come. It's just that all of a sudden, we were getting inclinations from the state that the money was gonna go away. And we didn't wanna see that happen.
So you need our MOU for you to show the state.
We have to have that or we don't get any money.
Just get the contract signed, which we have to have it signed.
We need it or we
We have
don't get
to,
money.
yeah, we have to submit all the, and Bill knows all this, all the materials and documents have to go in
It's
this
required
week.
because we actually own the tunnel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So then they can generate the contract, and so we can all sign the contract.
So you would be voting on, to accept the motion memorandum with the addition of, correction of, from quarterly to monthly, and with what Dr. DeGay just said, on tentative of the
Yeah,
review.
conditional, yeah.
Conditional of the attorney. And I don't think the attorney's gonna change anything, it's just, it's 25 years, and really, it's good corporate ethics to make sure that he looks at it.
So it keeps us all safe.
And as far as the money disbursements, you're not gonna have like little piddly amounts going out. You know, the first amount of money is probably gonna be for the fuel removal, so,
We already know about the
I
non-penalty
know,
amounts.
I know.
We
Are we
handle
tired of talking
non-penalty
about
amounts
that?
all the time.
We're tired of talking about it.
We don't talk about thousands, we talk hundreds of thousands.
I
like-
know.
Thank you for your persistence, because the people who want to come visit this will be ecstatic.
It's gonna be great
Yeah,
when
and
we're
they
done.
come- they
and
come from all
it'll
over.
be fantastic.
Yeah.
And we can highlight history over there, and we have a number of D-Day people, not very many of them are alive anymore, but we had an event 2 years ago, and we have a lot to be proud of. There's not, we have no bad history in this area. We didn't do anything terrible. We've always been doing good, no, it's true. We haven't, so we have a lot to be proud of, so this will be a great way to cheer it up, all right?
All right,
You wanna
Bill.
stay for the vote, or you wanna leave?
Oh, we'll
You'll
stay
let
for
us
the
be here for
vote.
the vote, absolutely. We didn't think you wanted us here for the vote, because MERS is very intimidating.
So does someone want to make that motion? I can't, as the chair of the meeting.
I'll just start crying.
I'd be happy to move the memorandum of understanding between the Fort and the Lake Museum contingent upon attorney review.
Monthly reporting?
Yeah.
Including
It actually
monthly
says quarterly
reporting.
here, but quarterly replaced by
Where
monthly.
does it say that? What's
Yeah,
the
they'll
number?
change that.
Toward the bottom.
We're going to replace the quarterly report to a monthly report.
Okay, all right, see it.
So Tom
Yes,
made a
as
motion,
as
Stan
amended.
seconded. Any
Yeah,
discussion?
please stand up.
Good idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Good to see you.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
You bet.
On our-
Oh, writing a grant, I know.
A lot of hard work.
All right. Is there any other new business? If not, there is a need to go to executive session. Do we have a motion, please?
So moved.
John?
I'll second it.
Ed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we go into executive session at 5:30. Second,
So,
Roger? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we're coming out at 6:38. Any other business to take over the order? Motion to adjourn.
so,
Okay, second.
Okay?
Did we need a resolution for the LT5 thing?
Yeah, did we?
We did.
I thought we
We
did, yeah.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, remember
I
that,
thought we did.
We did
the
it.
Marine, the museum people were here.
It was,
Okay.
all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? 6:49, we're adjourned.